I am back again, and I've got just a couple things I want to talk about. I have plenty of things I can talk about, but I've kind of narrowed it down to two things. The first one is, I told you so. I'm going to try to remember to dig down, put links up. But I told you so. I told you Joe Biden was going to be the one, and I had people laughing at me. Well, RT, I know Russia, but they posted an article showing that the Democrat Party is in the process of setting up delegates for their convention to pick their presidential nominee, and they are overwhelmingly picking people who are Hillary Clinton loyalists. Yep. Now keep in mind, there is another part to this story that dates back to the fall, I think back in September. And this is when the Democrat Party were coming out and say, well, it's going to be so contested. We don't know if there's going to be a clear winner, and that's where the super delegates are going to come into play. Told you. They've been setting the groundwork up for months to find a way to get, well, I'm pretty sure it's Bernie Sanders, or not Bernie Sanders, but to make sure Joe Biden gets the nomination. And in case you didn't remember, Obama did state if Elizabeth Warren or Bernie Sanders got the nomination, he would work against them. So that just confirms what I've been saying all along. The Democrat Party chose Bernie Sanders or Joe Biden. You might as well accept it. Either that, if they don't do that, they found a way to slip Hillary Clinton in. I don't know how, but it's going to be one of those two. Whether you like it or not, I don't like it, but I don't like any of them. The other thing I want to talk about is something that's been fairly contested as of late, and this is in regards to Julian Assange. And it's come out that it's been determined he has no First Amendment rights, which is the United States Constitution. And a lot of people are saying, he should, it's a universal document. No, the Constitution and its amendments is the foundation for the United States government. That said, it is not a universal document. All the world's governments are not founded on it. It have not adopted it. Therefore, they don't have to recognize it. Now, there are certain circumstances where they can get away with it. If you are a U.S. citizen living in the United States, you have constitutional rights. If you are not a U.S. citizen and you're living in the United States, you have amended rights. And there's a lot of circumstances centered around your legal status and everything else that dictates exactly which ones you have. I've looked into it. It's crazy enough, and I don't really feel like going into too much detail because it seems like it's still evolving in the courts. If you are a U.S. citizen and you're living abroad, you have some protections, but it depends on the circumstances and where you're living and treaties and everything else as to exactly how much protection under the Constitution you can be afforded. But here's the big stinker. If you are not a U.S. citizen, you are not living in the United States, and you have no voluntary connections to the United States, which is the case with Julian Assange from what I can tell. It has been upheld time and time again. You have no constitutional rights in the United States. Plain and simple, as far as the courts are concerned, if you are not a U.S. citizen living in the United States, you do not live in the United States, and you do not have direct voluntary ties to the United States, you have no protections. So then you get the people who say, well, if it ain't a universal document, how can the laws blah, blah, blah? Let me explain that to you. You can be, if you are not a U.S. citizen, and you are not living in the United States, you have no connections, it is possible to be prosecuted under U.S. laws if certain circumstances have been met. And again, this can vary depending on locale. If the infraction is deemed severe enough, and if there's an extradition treaty, and if the courts or legal bodies of whatever country you are residing in agree to uphold or agree to extradite, then you can be prosecuted. I started to say prostituted, but prosecuted in said country. Here's the stinker. If the United States were to go after Julian Assange for publishing sensitive information, it is highly questionable if he would be extradited. They are not doing that. They are going after trying to prosecute him, saying he hacked like the Pentagon and whatnot, or tried to. That is a big enough offense where if a country is enough of an ally and they have an extradition policy, they may go ahead and uphold that extradition. Now, he is in England, Great Britain, whatever you want to call it. And we're not United States and England are not the closest in the world at this time, but we're still allies. Quite frankly, I think times are closer than I care for, especially when it comes to caring about the dramas of the royal family. I really don't care what Harry and Meghan do. I don't care where they live, and I don't care if they don't like the United States president and refuse to live here as long as he's president. I don't care. I may not like the Valencia orange any more than anyone else. And if they don't want to live here as long as he's president, that's fine. I don't care. And if you try to make a big stink about it, anyone with a functional IQ doesn't care. So in that, and when it comes, like I said, I'd rather smell a German Shepherd fart than listen about the royal family. But the fact of the matter is, they are still enough of allies. There's a good chance, if the United States government makes its case that they are prosecuting, in fact, over alleged hacking attempts, he'll be extradited. Now, they may put the condition that he cannot be tried for publishing information on the United States government, like Snowden and all that crap. They may throw that condition in. If they don't be surprised if the United States government don't try to slip a fast one in. But the fact of the matter is, there is an extradition treaty with the United States. And they are kind of allies. That's 2 strikes against Assange right off the bat. And since he's a non-U.S. citizen, not living in the United States, and with no direct involuntary ties to the United States, I hate to say it, but he don't have constitutional rights. Now they may be able to argue that he is warranted some, like a speedy trial or whatnot, when he comes to the United States. They may be able to argue that depending on how they handle it, where they send him. But even that's questionable. I mean, they're trying to whittle away at due process left and right as is. So take it with a grain of salt. it looks like there's finding a way one way or another to make Joe Biden the presidential nominee for the Democrats, and Julian Assange is getting ready to get the cold hard shaft up the keister. Don't necessarily like it. That seems to be the way it's going. Let me know what you think. I am going to try and drive it sprinkling rain, so naturally that means everyone wants to blow up and stop. Anyway, later.